Well, it took me long enough, but eventually my pendant materials have arrived from overseas and I've been making some glorious pendants and I'm absolutely in love with this process. And I know if you haven't tried it yet, then you should, because you are going to love this too. So hang around and I'm going to show you how to make these pendants using your acrylic pouring skins or your paintings on Yupo paper. To make your pendants, you will need some kind of acrylic poured skin or a swipe or similar on some Yupo paper. You'll also need some small sharp scissors and a nice soft cloth. Don't forget to get your pendant trays and ideally the glass domed cabochons that fit with them. You'll also need some diamond glue, diamond glaze water-based dimensional adhesive. In case of any little mistakes, it really helps to have on hand some nail polish remover and some Q-tips, and of course lastly you'll need something to hang your pendant on. Okay, so get your pieces together and let's get started. So here are a few acrylic skins that I've got. These ones here have got kind of circular drips where the paint has dripped into little ever increasing or decreasing circles. I've got a couple of those. Nice bright colours seem to work best, so look out for ones where you've saved some with nice bright yellows or maybe a dash of white or some really cool blues or pinks. I've also got this larger piece, which was where I had some paint left over in a dirty pour cup and I just poured it straight onto some plastic in order to save it. Now don't forget of course that you can also look on the back of your pieces, and sometimes, although you don't get the same cells perhaps that you get on the front, you can have some really cool shapes, and these shapes here and these the stripes, those can look really cool under the pendants too. So don't forget to take a look on the back. This one here is just where I had a little bit of paint left over and I've just poured it and then swiped over the top on a little bit of Yupo paper. So these are my pendant trays. So you can see they are slightly recessed so that we can get our skin and our cabochon in there. And these are the little glass cabochons. It's ideal if you can buy the pendant tray and the cabochon as a set, because then you know that they're going to fit correctly. And I did indeed buy these two as a set together. So the first thing I recommend is to get yourself a nice soft cloth and just buff any fingerprints off of the glass. Especially on the top side, no problem, because you're going to be touching that anyway, but you don't want any greasy fingerprints on the underside, so just give it a nice clean with a soft cloth, and then you can hold it from the edges so that you aren't getting any more fingerprints on it. You can see there, I think, the magnifying effect that you get from using the nice clear glass cabochons. Also, a benefit of using glass is they're a lot less likely to stick, to scratch rather than the plastic ones. So I've got one of my skins laid out here, and then you just take your cabochon and basically move it around on your skin until you get to a nice place that you think is going to make a nice area for your pendant. I've chosen this area here where I've got a number of those really tiny little cells where you get cells within cells that look like little galaxies. I love this one so much. So this is where I've decided to put my pendant, and I've put my glass on there so I get an idea. Next thing to do is to get your glue ready. This is the diamond glaze. This is the best glue I found for doing the pendants, but you really don't need very much. So just unscrew the top. Now when you buy this originally, the top, let's see if it comes into focus there. Let's see. The top is solid. I don't think it is going to come into focus. It's a little bit, oh, there we go, a little bit too close. So you need to just cut the end off of here with a pair of scissors. And then bear in mind where you want, oh, we're going to come back into focus again. There we go. Bear in mind where you want your cabochon to go. Lift it back up. And then I find, bring it back in, just one spot in the middle, and then 3 spots around the outside. A few little bubbles there, so I'm just going to try and get rid of those. Oh, the camera's having a hard time focusing, I think. Let's see. A little bit better. So you've got a few little bubbles there, so I'm just going to try and brush those off the side and put another little blob of glue. We should be able to push those out anyway, so it's not too critical. So now I just need to go back down where I wanted to put the glass, put it in place, and then I kind of wiggle it around a little bit, just like that, and that helps to spread out the glue, and you can see the glue coming out around the edge, and if you look very carefully you won't see we have any bubbles left in the glass. So now I just pop my finger on the top of there, and I'm going to apply some pressure and just pop my finger on there for about 30 seconds. Now you can see that we have a little bit of glue seeping out around the edge, and I'll just take a little bit of tissue paper and wipe that away because it's going to make it easier to cut if I don't have glue on there later on. Okay, so my 30 seconds are up, so now I'm just going to put this piece to one side and allow the glue on there to dry. I'll probably leave it a couple of hours. However, in Blue Peter fashion, if you're British you'll know what I mean, here's one I prepared earlier. So here's a cabochon that I glued onto this skin earlier, and this one is now fully dry, and I've just double checked, and yes, it doesn't seem to have any bubbles or any imperfections in it, so I think this one is good to go. So now I just take my pair of scissors, and just bear in mind, if you want to get several pendants, just make sure that you don't cut through an area. Say I wanted to use this part, then don't cut through that area if you're cutting out this one. And I just take my scissors, and they're very, very easy to cut. Just going to cut carefully around the edge. And I find if I kind of just hold it a little bit at an angle, I can get the ends of my scissors in there, or you can of course use smaller scissors. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? Some little nail scissors or something would work really good for this too. And there we go. Once I've got it mainly cut out, I can see where I've got a few bits around the edges, and again I can just get back in there with my scissors, and now it's easy to trim those rough edges off. So it's now still not completely perfect, but once we get that into the cabochon tray, it's really not going to show that I might have any slight tiny little bits around the edge there. So the same as before, now we add a little bit of the diamond glaze into our cabochon tray, and I'll probably do one in the middle and 4 little spots. If you go overboard and put too much in, when you put the cabochon in, it actually squeezes out. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to decide before I put it in there which way up I think I would like the top. I think that part for me is the top. So I'm just going to lay that down in the tray and then give it a little twist until I've got it where I like it. Now I do have a little bit too much glue. You can see it coming out just here, and also there's a little bit around the edge, and that's where it comes in handy to have some nail polish remover just on a little Q-tip, and you can just go carefully around the edge, and that will take off any of the excess glue that might squeeze out, but it dries up really quickly. So it's best to do this straight away. A little bit more there, and then I can just get my soft cloth and go gently over the top and check that everything is looking good. So that looks fine. So now I just need to set that aside for a little while to dry, and then we'll come back and finish our pendant. So my pendant's now dry, and I'm using these ones. I got these again from Amazon, the same place that I got the trays and cabochons. And these are just ready-made necklace chains, so I can pull one out of the packet. And it has a little lobster claw clasp on one end, and then some rings on the other end. I can thread the chain through the bail, and that fits beautifully through there, and then my pendant is completed. So let's have a look now at doing one with some Yupo paper. So here's my little piece of Yupo paper, and I've got my glass, and I'm deciding where I would like it to go, and I think somewhere around there is probably going to look cool. So it's got some really nice white veining just there. So again, I'm going to give my cabochon just a little buff on the back to make sure there are no fingerprints there. Drop glue in the middle, it comes. 3 around the outside, and that should be sufficient. And let's get that where I would like it, there on my Yupo. Wiggle it around a little bit. Press down with my finger. And again, I'm going to hold it for 30 seconds, and while I do that, I'm just going to go around the outside. You can either use a little bit of tissue paper if you've got some glue, or take your Q-tip again with a little bit of nail polish remover on it, and you can just tidy up around the edges if there's any glue that's seeping out, so that it doesn't get on your glass, because if it gets on the glass part there, it can kind of look a little bit dull and matte once the glue's dried. It's always best to deal with it while it's still wet. So I'm just going to dry this one off for a little while. Once the glue's dry, exactly the same as I did before with the acrylic poured skins, now I can just carefully cut around the cabochon. Oh, I don't think my glue's quite dry. That's fine. It'll still stick, I think, once I push it back down. So once it's dry, don't rush it as much as I have. Then you can carefully cut around with your scissors in exactly the same way. Add some glue to the back, add it into your pendant tray. Glue your little cabochon into the pendant tray, same as before. Push it down in. This time it fits just a little bit tighter and sits a little bit more proud, just because we have the Yupo paper in there, which is just a little thicker than the acrylic skin. So again, if you get any glue, could do with a new Q-tip, I think. Just tidy up around the edge with your Q-tip and a little bit of nail varnish remover, and that's one more done. So let's look at my third one. This one is the little galaxy pour that you saw me doing on the larger skin. This is the larger skin that I had before. Wait for that to come into focus. So remember, we looked at this one at the start, and here it is finished. This is the little galaxy one. So here we are, these are the 3 examples that you've seen in this video, all now completed. All you need to do is just give them a quick buff over with a nice soft cloth to make sure the front is all nice and shiny, package them in some pretty packaging, and they're ready to wear, ready to gift, or ready to sell. So thanks very much for watching. Do check underneath the video for the kit, where you can find all of the information about these. You can watch the video again if you need to, and you can find all of the links for the materials used, the pendants, the cabochon trays, and the cords that I've used for these pendants. Thanks for watching, and see you again very soon.